Fantastic to be here today with you in Beechworth.
And it's lovely to be here too.
Well, we're delighted to welcome you back and thank you for your support and your guidance over a very long time as we seek to build out entrepreneurship, critical thinking, creative thinking, and a new mindset with young people. To kick off, can I just get you to describe a little bit how it is that you've actually arrived here today? Why is it that you and ACRE have been on a journey together?
Well, I think ACRE and the kind of work that I've been doing in the UK are kindred spirits because we sort of sit just outside the formal education system. So I'm sure we'll talk about this, but we're passionate about the kind of things that so easily fall through the cracks in a formal educational system.
And you've been in Australia recently and had the opportunity to present and meet with a number of leading educators in this country. What are you noticing about some of the trends that are emerging here?
So like all developed nations, of which Australia is clearly one, you have some challenges. We certainly do in England too. Far too many of our young people are not motivated by school. If they are there, they're not engaged. If they're not there, they're doing other things. And actually, we also have a teacher recruitment issue as well. And just to add to all of that, we know that in an AI world, we're not necessarily developing the kind of complex competencies that we need. Apart from that, there are lots of warm signs. So, for example, I notice that you have a curriculum that's framed by capabilities or dispositions. So as well as knowledge and skills, we want young people here and in England to be able to put those knowledge and skills that they've learnt into action. So the kind of applied learning that you see is a growing thing. It's not universally accepted. So state by state in Australia, you get very, very different takes on this. Some are right out there in terms of encouraging project-based, real-world, authentic learning. Some are right out there in seeing students as, if you can imagine a metaphor of a ship, they're up on the bridge of the ship of their own learning rather than being tucked down in the engine room. So these trends are there, but I think, in all honesty, they're not widely enough distributed yet.
Interesting. So thinking about that context that you've said, which is the diversity across a large country, the different frameworks that are maybe being used, and potentially some people seeing the bridge and some not, where do you see that social enterprise schools as a program can benefit young people and education more broadly?
Social enterprise schools beautifully sit connected to, but just outside the formality of school. So in most schools, those of us who are parents will remember this. What is my child, what is my young person going to be doing today? We look at the school timetable, and that'll be a subject, especially at secondary level. Social enterprise schools is a possibility to move beyond subjects and into real interests that are defined by questions, not by answers. So they will transcend individual subjects. They will be tricky things sometimes to which there is no simple one answer, or quite simple things that maybe a young person hasn't yet had a go at. So I see them as being a real essential component of a broader educational ecosystem.
It's interesting to hear you speak about social enterprise schools as unlocking possibility.
Yep.
That's something I'm hearing. Where do you see that it fits with bringing equity for young people?
I think equity is a tricky term because the danger is one talks about those who apparently don't have equity in a way that can be very patronising. And I would like to start by saying I think social enterprise schools have a place in all young people's lives. I think if we're talking about those who have less in an economic sense to begin with, maybe a social sense, definitely a political sense, then they're going to have the opportunity of mentorship. They're going to have the opportunity of connecting with others in the community that perhaps they haven't had thus far. They have a real chance to do the kind of things that don't get them credit in school. So all the more authentic, practical, exploratory learning opportunities. These are great, good things. I would like to see them more in the formal curriculum. But for now, let's accept that it's a really good starting point. And it just gives people a sense of who they are sometimes, which they haven't found yet in the school. It's not always the case. There are absolutely fantastic teachers who will be doing this in a science classroom, who will be doing this as a primary or early years educator. But too often you just need to get outside of the kind of box of the subject.
Interesting. And I liked your reflection on equity. One thing that I've noticed is the equity can relate to probably agency.
Yeah.
It's actually inviting young people to talk about what matters to them. What I'd like you to do is think about the vast numbers of young people and teachers you've worked with over a long period. Can you share a moment or some reflections on the power of entrepreneurial thinking?
For sure. So it's a sort of tapestry answer, this. I remember vividly an organisation that I led called Learning Through Landscapes, seeing whole communities turn out on a Saturday to transform a school ground. I remember very recently now in England, the creativity collaboratives that I've been privileged to lead, seeing young people playing roles in curriculum design that they've never had an opportunity to do before, and that moving out of the weekday into the evening, into the weekend with their families. That's absolutely glorious. I see it a lot here in Australia, but as in England, it's patchy. I hear it in and see it in states like South Australia, where I've been working last week. They have a long tradition for entrepreneurial learning, and you can see it again on the edges of formal education. And here in Victoria, it's been my pleasure to see it firsthand at Old Beechworth Jail.
I'd like you to think back now to 12-year-old Bill.
Yeah.
And I would like you to think, how would a program like social enterprise schools have changed your future?
We had a kind of version of it. It was called D&E and Parents Who Loved Outdoor Education. So I guess I'm privileged in that I've had little tastes of that. I'm a bit of a rebel, so I might have not wanted a formal program and much preferred to have made my own chances. But had I been less so, I think I would just have loved it, because it would be deepening and extending all the things that I got bits of. I love school, by the way, so it would have been deepening and extending all of that. I also loved working with people of different ages. I loved working with people who were brilliant with their hands. My granddad, I remember, would coach me and teach me how to use dangerous tools without my grandma ever finding out. It was brilliant.
I like the sound of your grandfather.
He was fantastic.
I'm going to hand you a wand, and I'm going to hand you a wand for Australia, and I'm going to give you the power to make any change you would like to be able to support, instill and spread that tapestry of possibility for young people. What would you do?
I'd take an enormous amount of stuff out of the curriculum, and I'd invite and encourage and support and mentor all of those, not just teachers, but all of those working with young people, to see the enormous opportunities of developing young people's dispositions and habits. You see, the clue is in the word. If you're disposed to be resilient, if it's a natural habit of yours to be collaborative, if it just comes to you that you want to be creative, that's when we know it's really happening. It's like that old idea of culture. Culture is what the organization does when it thinks nobody's looking. I want kids to be doing this because they want to do it and because the system encourages it.
Thank you so much for all that you have done and continue to do to advocate for and support possibilities for young people. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.